Hey, so I've been meaning to get around to doing this for a while, and this is one transit that I'm really excited about for this year. And this is basically Jupiter ingressing into Leo and getting some harmonious aspects from other fire signs. In this one, we're going to discuss how this impacts each ascendant sign, as well as the moon, if we look at it from the moon, as well as the sun sign for all 12 signs. But here are some of the few things we'll go over, and that is the meaning, the core meaning of Jupiter in Leo through a transit and somewhat through the birth chart, energy activation points, because this impacts our chakra system, the dates and kind of big key opportunities, as well as some insight as to what I'm planning, which for me and my ascendant, it's time to travel, basically. So Leo is ruled by the sun, in other words, the Ajna chakra, the place of light, where we see. It also indicates vitality and energy and inspiration and confidence. And when it's working right, when planets there are in good aspect or delighted or positive, it means we are able to follow our inspiration more readily. And we can, of course, build a life that is rather positive and fruitful at the end of the day. Now, Jupiter is, of course, that big planet, gas giant that's always expanding, expanding out. The exact opposite of Mercury. Mercury is actually contracting. It is our wisdom, our knowledge, our inspiration, kind of our moral compass, what we're taught, kind of where we find luck. And we find luck by following the thing that is good, inherently moral and good within ourselves. So when these two come together in this new element, we're moving from its exaltation point in Cancer, which also rules over our Ajna chakra, the third eye. It's the passive receptive element of it, the feminine side. Now we're moving into the masculine, where we try to manifest out our energy of what we want, what we can see and hear, the big ideas and big inspiration. When we move from water to fire, we're creating mist. So in I think the Vedic system, which I'm a Western astrologer, but the Vedic system, this is like a Gandanda point. So this is like a karmic knot. Um, what it represents is things that are in a state of flux. They're not quite one element, they're not quite the other. They're in this state of flux. So what this does is create confusion, and this happens on the individual level. It happens on the collective level. It's going to happen on the United States of America's chart. In fact, our chart, the state of this country, it's ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter. So Jupiter, of course, depending on what house system you're using, we have here an example of the whole sign. We have the Placidus, which I like to use. It's going to be going over into the ninth, near the ninth, which rules foreign governments, foreign kingdoms, foreign expansion, and the North Node, which is like foreign things, new things, upheaval. And Jupiter, meaning our physically, the body of this nation will expand, basically. But it's also a very, very karmic point where Leo is the kingdom. It is like the king, the government, the kingdom, the place of authority and power. So I won't get into that, but we're going to see a bunch of trines to those outer planets and sextiles as well as Jupiter slowly goes through the beginning stages of Leo and then enters into the later stages in 2027. But one of the first ones, of course, is going to be Jupiter trine those early degrees of Neptune. So this is great in anybody's chart for like intuitive breakthrough and following your inspiration and kind of opening yourself up and opening your energies up to gain more intuition and knowledge and inspiration to do what you want to do. These are fire signs as well, so they represent the things we're passionate about. Now, it does oppose Pluto in its early degrees. Now, Pluto in this case is the shadow collective. It's the shadow unconscious, the collective, like repressed uh, anger and obsessions and things like that, that are just these dark emotions that are in the collective right now, can actually impact this. I'm looking for the words; they're not coming. It can impact this energy. So there's going to be this like pull between where Pluto is moving through your chart, which represents a breakdown and a resurrection of that thing, versus where Jupiter is moving through the chart, which represents an expanded, a higher awareness of that area of life, or where we find more meaning and purpose. And these two things are at odds as we awaken and become more lucky and just buoyant and joyful about that area of life. It's going to also awaken us to that powerlessness. because that's what Pluto can feed into, is like people that feel deeply, deeply powerless, when in fact they actually are powerful. They're just in a false perspective because it's so far from the sun. It's so far from the light of the sun. So Jupiter will also trine Saturn. Saturn is in those early degrees of Aries. So this gives a grounded structure to Jupiter's energies. So it can represent a rapid expansion, contraction, a like taking it from like an inspired vision of what you really want to do to easily making that thing happen. But this depends on where it's happening in your chart, as always. Sun conjunct Jupiter. So eventually the sun is going to catch up to Jupiter and enclose upon it, July 22nd, in fact, and it will oppose Pluto. It will trine Neptune, the planet of mysticism and planet of illusions and spirituality and openness, and sextile Uranus, the opportunities to kind of experiment with life, figure things out, learn new things, and then grow our inspiration and our kingdom, our life, based on what we put our basically energy into. But the sun, when it gets too close to Jupiter, is going to fag it out. It burns it out, fatigues it. So there's a lot of expansion of energy, dispersal, and then it leaves one kind of burned out depending on where it's having in a chart. Jupiter will conjunct the south node, so the nodal eclipse points. Now this is later in the year, but it lasts till the mid, June of early June of 2027. So this represents after we've had this huge abundance of energy and expansion, and we're following our inspiration and doing what we want to do in life. There is a sort of letting go of whatever house cusps Sagittarius, Pisces have in your chart, where basically if we have acquired fixed, concrete ideas that are false about where we're putting our trust and meaning and stuff in life, which is the Jupiter things, the South Node will introduce what is kind of like these ego blocks. Like, I want to do this thing, but I got a flat tire. I want to do X, Y, and Z, but this is not, it's just not working. It's not moving forward. This is because unlike the North Node, where we're actively moving out to the world and the ego is trying to gather experience, the South Node is about being. It is the body without a head. One must just be. So imbibe one's greater inspirations rather than like seeking more and more and more expanded experience in order for the ego to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because there's never going to be enough. But this, we can go on this point, but this is more of a minor point because this year is when I'm focused on 2026, which is honestly very positive on a personal level, really positive, depending on whether Jupiter is a friend to your ascendant or an enemy. In my case, it rules my ascendant. So this is a time of a lot of energy and a lot of activity. Speaking of energy, Jupiter will conjunct Mars. This is going to happen. Well, Mars is going to enclose on it. It's the faster planet. It's going to run up and meet Jupiter. And Jupiter and Mars are classic friends. Jupiter is that the counselor or the guide or the guru, and Mars is the general, and they kind of like make each other strong. And October 23rd, this is going to add a lot more energy and opportunities to use your logic and physical energy and willpower to really go out and put these ideas that you've been having about how to make your life better, Leo representing your kingdom, your life, into reality. So really, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Aries, and Pisces, Jupiter ruled signs, Mars ruled signs, are going to see all this energy and passion and a lot more gain in life if they can just follow their inspirations in a concrete way. And by December, we're going to see the results of it. And whether or not this, kind of alienates, I don't want to say that, but whenever we see the planets separating out after the conjunction happens, it represents it's culminated, it's fulfilled, and now we're moving away from it. We're going to see the results of that in December, the aftermath of that. Now it happens to square Mercury. Now Mercury is like an enemy to both of these planets. It's how we relate to the world, whether or not we're alienating people with how we come off. Because whenever we're following our inspiration, we can kind of alienate others to an extent, because Mars just wants what it wants. Jupiter is just inspired. It has the vision. It's just going to go for it. So do bear that in mind. There's a potential aftermath here and later in the year after from October to December, when you're following your inspiration and doing what you really want to do in life. If this isn't making sense, my Vishuddhi is very blocked today, but we'll ignore that. Jupiter aspects Chiron. Chiron will become retrograde and moves back from Taurus into Aries. So that pain, that ego pain of our self-worth, our value, not having enough money, the prices and all this stuff, this is all according to the divine plan. But right now we're going to look back and say, I'm following my inspiration. I have all this inspired vision of how I want to feel like alive and adventure in life and to rise higher. Heat is rising in Jupiter and Leo, and it's harmoniously aspecting Chiron in Aries as it retrogrades. This is all about kind of integrating this new energy we're putting out with kind of the wounds of the past of the ego, of not feeling like we're able to go anywhere and do anything and be who we really want to be, because Saturn and Neptune is also in the Aries sign. It's also restricting our individuality of, man, there's not enough opportunity. There's a lot of pain in the ego of like, who am I, and am I really living the life I'm supposed to be living? So Jupiter here is going to help with that, as it brings all that wisdom and experience that we've collected to bear, basically. It integrates it harmoniously. Now, that is when it trines. When it squares, it represents, in the beginning stage, that's July the 1st, it represents kind of this tension between like, you want to put your energy out into life and express yourself and be bigger and expand horizons. But there's these wounds, Chiron, not having enough money, not having enough self-worth, etc., that is keeping you kind of stuck, because these are fixed signs. They feel rather stuck. Now, once you get over that, later in the year, we talked about, the Jupiter trine Chiron, where we're starting to kind of integrate all the experience into a healing of self. And remember, the retrogrades are all about, they're kind of like not only going back to revisit something, but they're also turning energy from outward to inward into the psyche. So Jupiter will in fact retrograde in Leo 2026 at the end of the year. So that's like final review. You've experienced all this knowledge and wisdom and experience by following your inspiration, by building and putting work into your life to make it good. Now it's time to go within and ask, what am I putting my trust in? Am I having the right beliefs to really shape my life? Where are my beliefs guiding my world around me? Jupiter impacts all 12 signs. Now, for Jupiter impacting Libra, Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, this can be a hindrance. For other ascendants, it can be a real asset. If you're an Aries, Scorpio, Cancer, Leo, Pisces, Sagittarius, it's really good. So for Aries, because it rules houses of inspiration and also places where we expend out energy and it moves to the 5th, this is the time to like deal with children, deal with your creativity, put that energy and that passion into creating stuff in life. For Taurus, it's very difficult because it rules sensitive places in life, places where we're not quite comfortable and where we kind of yearn and crave for more. The 11th house, where we kind of are having to open ourselves up and be intimate with people, and that's the 8th house. And because Jupiter is in the 4th, it represents a huge opportunity to kind of expand the heart and to expand one's internal security by basically following one's inspiration, which is Jupiter in Leo. The sign of Leo is ruled by the sun, which has to do with our light, our internal light. Gemini, of course, and you'll have to excuse if some of this is getting cut off. Gemini, it's ruling their 7th house and their 10th house. These are all public places where Jupiter finds meaning, and it's moving through their 3rd house. So expect a lot more learning and experimenting, and especially massive opportunities when we have Jupiter sextiling Uranus in the 1st house. That's a huge momentum forward in life to use your skills and your intelligence and your ability to network and ability to use your speech and your mind to go to where you want to go and to really make massive changes. Now, for Cancer, it's going to be going through the second house. This is home and family and one's security and one's foundations and finances. So this can be really, really good. Certainly, if you have the moon in Cancer, this is great for adding more comfort in your life. But it does rule the sixth house and ninth house. So the sixth house is our routines. Ninth house is like what we find meaningful. It's a very Jupiterian house. And this is all moving towards the second house of are you building basically a life through your daily routines and through what your beliefs are that can sustain you, that can give you enough meaning and enough fat, because Jupiter is excess. It's an abundance that can really sustain you through difficult times as well as good times. So take a look at like your self-worth and things like that and where you put your trust in. Now, Leo, this is really, really, really good in terms of a transit for Leo, because there's so much. Yes, their eighth house is crisis, but their fifth house is also, who they consistently are. And the eighth house is also like vitality. It's also part of the sexuality and the kundalini. Moving into that first house, it's this renewed sense of vigor and energy for pushing forward towards something that's meaningful. Just as Saturn transits, whenever they go through our first house, will indicate, okay, we got a new path with new responsibilities. Well, a Jupiter transit through your first house in Leo, in your own sign, is going to be a newfound path of meaning and inspiration, and maybe teaching or receiving teachings, being a leader, being more visible, things of that nature. It's really, really positive for your health as well. So for Virgos, Jupiter can because Virgo is a Mercury ruled sign. Jupiter and Mercury are not the best of friends. It can just mean that the opportunities are going to come, but they're going to come when you know how to expend your energy correctly, and when to take a break and recharge from all the day-to-day work that you've been doing, that I know for a fact has, just based on the transits of all Virgos happening right now, there's a lot of tension about the work you have to do to like make life work, going to a job, paying bills, calling credit card companies, just the grind of work. Well, the 12th house is where Jupiter moves through. It's where there's this hidden kind of reprieve to your debts and difficulties and all the things of the sixth, where Jupiter looks at the sixth from the 12th, meaning when you take time for yourself to kind of grow in your wisdom of what it is the heart wants, Leo being the heart, you can better approach life and relationships and basically everything, how you engage with the world on a totally different level, if that makes sense. Now for Libra, remember, Libra is a Venus ruled sign. They are not great friends with Jupiter. They have very different intentions. But however, Jupiter's abundance is still there. It's still awesome. You can still have so much positive fruit come to you through your network circles and your connections and your friends and your relationships. And it can also be a time when your skills and the work you've been putting in sees fructification. It sees like finally a result, finally return, and some recognition at the very least. Now for Scorpio is going to be using their resources and their creativity and their intelligence and what they have accumulated as means of basically expanding what they do in the world and how they're received by others in the world. Because as it moves through the top of their chart, the 10th house, this happens once every 12 years or so, Jupiter will kind of bless their PR, how do people receive them? How do they look in front of other people? For Sagittarius, because Jupiter rules their sign is going through their ninth house. These are tremendous, tremendous opportunities for finding higher meaning and inspiration and connecting with your culture, having higher knowledge come to you, spiritual knowledge, publishing things, recording things and publishing things like I'm doing right now as a Sagittarius. But this is also like an expanded sense of emotional fulfillment and identity, because it does rule the house, which is the first house of you. It also rules your fourth house of your roots and your identity and your sense of security. So this is just an all around incredible lucky transit. It's an awesome, awesome transit for Sagittarius. Now for Capricorn. Capricorn rules their third house and their 12th house. So their energy and their skills and how they communicate, and where they like lose their energy, and where they basically have their losses and expenditures. And as it moves to the 8th house, there is a lot of like, you're going to have to do work, but you're going to have a lot of renewal and regenerative capacity through your vitality. How much energy and vitality the body holds, how positive the body is, how lucky are you with getting support from other people, financial, material, or emotional support from other people. So this is actually really, really good for a Capricorn. But remember, Saturn, which rules their ascendant, their life path, who they are, and Jupiter, these are neutral to each other. So they're not really enemies, but they're also not really great friends. They're just kind of neutral. But this is ultimately very good because, by the way, it looks at their second house of their finances. So it blesses that house. It gives a lot of luck with making sure your finances just, don't, you're not experiencing like a financial death of 1,000 paper cuts, so to speak. Jupiter gives a lot more grace. Jupiter transit in Leo for Aquarius. Now, this is very public. It's very much the opposite side of the chart from where they were born. So it represents them putting more of their energy and their resources and their desires towards other people. So this is a huge time of like having some breakthroughs with how they connect with other people and how they expend their personal resources and energy. And their 11th house, their networks, their higher goals, their higher, like what they really are aiming for in life. All of this stuff takes on more meaning through the capacity of forming partnerships that are based on like a similar vision for life, for their kingdom, which is Leo. So this is also very positive for like being able to fulfill your desires, being able to make them happen. So for Pisces, because Pisces is also classically ruled by Jupiter, and it has a harmonious aspect, as we talked about, with Jupiter and Neptune very soon. This is such an abundance time period, even though, yes, it's going through the 6th house. The 6th house is so bad. It's a debt and obstacles. It's difficult. Well, Jupiter here can really save you from all that. It can really, really improve your health, improve your routines, give you some relief from any debts that you're having right now. Should you have a student loan debt or should you have whatever it is, but it can make some really positive results in terms of what are you doing every day to make your life, your identity, your physical body, and your 10th house, what you do out there in the world, or what you're known for, really. All of this moves through the 6th house in a very, very positive, energetic way. So when the obstacles come, and they're going to come, and there may be an abundance of them, face them, because there's actual opportunity in facing them at this time, especially with positive aspects happening to Jupiter. So with that sums it up. Jupiter is the teacher, the prophet, the guru. Leo is the sign of the king, ruled by the sun, which is this massive power source. So this is just an amazing opportunity to kind of like focus on yourself, your life, your kingdom, what you want to build. Just as I'm doing with so many irons in the fire, just all the time, busy, busy, busy. Well, now is the time to really fixate on something. Leo is the very fixed sign, and start moving towards putting more and more and more of your consciousness into that thing so that it can manifest, especially for people who are fixed signs, because this is happening at an angle. Angles are all about like how we take action in the world. For Scorpio, it's going to be taking action on what they really do in life. For Aquarius, how they connect. For Taurus, how they build their foundations. For Leos, of course, how they, an expansion of their identity and their confidence and who they are and how much meaning they get from truly being who they are. So when it transits through stuff like Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, Pisces, it would take on more of a supportive role because these are cadent houses. But ultimately, this is just an awesome, awesome transit that I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to be taking full advantage of in my chart with traveling constantly overseas and writing and publishing more, etc. So good luck to you. If you want to see more of my content, I've been doing astrology for a lot longer than I care to admit because I am getting older since 2008, sadly. But yeah, that long. You can go visit the site. If you need me, you can go to the contact page and send an email. But this is a very, very quick synopsis, hopefully, of Jupiter in transit through Leo. So thank you so much. Have a good one.